Welcome to We've Got a Country to Save, hosted by the blackface of white supremacy, and brought to you by my friends at InvestYrefy.com. Invest in America like I do, and by Freedom Chat. Freedom Chat has true end-to-end encryption, no storage of messages on the server, and no commercial use of user data. Speak freely and message privately. Download the app today and subscribe to my Freedom Chat channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. We also want to thank Epoch Times, Old Glory Bank, Patriot Mobile, and Birch Gold. Make sure to follow or subscribe to my channel on whatever platform you're watching me right now, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or Rumble. Now, if you don't patronize our sponsors, well... The media falsely claims social media posts of a disoriented Joe Biden are right-wing disinformation. Right-wing disinformation? He's not disoriented at all, say the mainstream media. Larry Elder versus Michael Rapaport. All of this and more. Question: was President Joe Biden disoriented or not? Were these videos showing him disoriented, quote, cheap fakes? Close quote.
You've probably heard of deep fakes, but just last week, as President Biden was at the G7 summit in Italy, cheap fake clips went viral on social media and were picked up by some news outlets. Take a look at this clip, for example. It shows Biden and other world leaders watching a skydiving demonstration before the president is seen walking away and looking in another direction. Outlets claimed that he was sort of just aimlessly wandering away. The clip amassed millions of views within just a few hours, when actually if you widen out, you can see that he was talking to one of the members of the military that was participating in that demonstration.
Disinformation? The White House press secretary says it's all a big right-wing cheap fake.
There seems to be a sort of rash of videos that have been edited to make the president appear especially frail or mentally confused. I'm wondering if the White House is especially worried about the fact that this appears to be a pattern that we're seeing more often.
Yeah, and I think you all have called this the cheap fakes video, and that's exactly what they are. They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith, and some of your news organization have been very clear, have stressed that these the right-wing critics of the president have a credibility problem because of the fact checkers have repeatedly caught them pushing misinformation, disinformation, and so we see this, and this is something coming from your part of the world, calling them cheap fakes and misinformation. And I'll quote the Washington Post, where they wrote about this, and they said how Republicans use misleading videos to attack Biden in a 24-hour period. And to their credit, we have a conservative Washington Examiner did call them out as well, calling out the New York Post. Ironically, several recent cheap fakes actually attacked the president for thanking troops. That is what they're attacking the president for. Both in Normandy, this happened, and again in Italy. And I think that it tells you everything that we need to know about how desperate Republicans are here. And instead of talking about the president's performance in office, and what I mean by that is his legislative wins, what he's been able to do for the American people across the country, we're seeing these deep fakes. These manipulated videos. And it is, again, done in bad faith.
But CBS says it's fake, and then they play what they say is the real one, and they're identical.
Cheap fake clips went viral on social media and were picked up by some news outlets. Take a look at this clip, for example. It shows Biden and other world leaders watching a skydiving demonstration before the president is seen walking away and looking in another direction. Outlets claimed that he was sort of just aimlessly wandering away. The clip amassed millions of views within just a few hours, when actually if you widen out, you can see that he was talking to one of the members of the military that was participating in that demonstration.
Now, CBS News later removed the video from their social media platform on X after saying it was an example of a cheap fake of President Joe Biden apparently wandering off during the G7 summit in Italy last week. Except he did wander off. It wasn't a cheap fake.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Never mind.
Sigh.
Where were these anti-hoaxers when there was the Fine People hoax, the drinking bleach hoax, the koi pond hoax, the migrant kids in cages hoax, the Border Patrol whipping migrants hoax, the lab leak is a conspiracy theory hoax, the Russian collusion hoax, the Don't Say Gay bill hoax. Did I leave any? The P-tape hoax. Where were they? There's a difference. When we see something, we vet it. The media does not, because they're the engine behind their hoaxes as long as they go in one direction. The Dems and the media are lucky we don't match their dishonesty. We could, we don't. We don't have to, because basically we don't have to make up crap. Apparently, though, they hold us to a higher standard than they hold themselves. Only they can cheat because they believe they have a moral high ground, and that moral high ground allows them to do anything immoral they want. They can call you Hitler, they can interfere with elections, they can wage unprecedented lawfare, they can say you're banning books, they can say you're xenophobic, they can say you don't have any compassion for the poor or the homeless, they can say anything. They can lie because they have the moral high ground. The most dangerous person is one who excuses their bad actions in the name of the good, especially when the good never materializes.
Watch out for that first step. It's a doozy.
Hi, folks. Do you trust this economy? What if you could receive a strong fixed rate of return that's not correlated to the stock market or the Fed? And what if you were in control? You could turn your income on or off, compound it, whatever you choose. What if your interest was compounded daily, you were paid monthly, and there were absolutely no fees? And what if you could have peace of mind because there was no attack on your principal if you ever needed your money back? Well, folks, there is an investment with all of these features. Investors all over the country are earning a high fixed rate of return with Yrefy, and they don't care about what happened with the stock market or the Fed. And best of all, they receive their statement every month with no surprises. Would you like some more information? Just call 877-80-INVEST. That's 877-80-INVEST. Or log on to investyrefy.com. That's investyrefy.com. Yrefy, do well by doing good. Over 6 months ago, I appeared on the very first Michael Rapaport podcast. Rapaport, however, never posted the interview. We did it months ago, and now all of a sudden, he posted it.
As far as making it polarizing and who's made it, taking it to another level, Trump, and you're a chill dude, you're a well-spoken dude. When I think of a conservative person who presents himself like a conservative, you are absolutely somebody I would say, who presents himself that way. Trump got elected iconically at his debates, why he became the people's champ, lying Ted Cruz, this one's names, that one names. That seems so opposite to the type of behavior that you represent from yourself. Why and how can you support a guy who also, I also heard you say that when it comes to debates, you're not at the debates. You don't like everybody shooting each other down, and then because it's not good for the party, and you don't like that. People like Gavin Newsom will then again use it against you. But Trump got elected not shooting, publicly lynching, giving nicknames, sexualized hands, all the bullshit that he did. And I know you don't curse. How can you support this guy?
I'm watching the Golf Channel. I'm not a golfer, but
give it to me straight. Don't give me about the golf.
I'm watching the Golf Channel.
Don't Tiger Woods me here like a Jack Nicholson me.
I love the sport, although I don't play it.
Okay.
And
I'm following you. You're not gonna
stay with me. This is going to make a lot of sense to you. These two professional golfers were being interviewed, and the host said, "What makes a good golfer?" And one of them went through this beautiful, elaborate description of what makes a good golfer, where you put your hands, where your shoulders are, where your legs are, where your eyes are. And the other one went like this. I look to see where the ball lands. Mm-hmm. I like where the ball lands on immigration, on abortion, on judges, on taxes, on losing the regulations, on reversing the war against oil and gas, on standing up to China. That's what I like. The rest of it, It's white noise, pardon the expression.
But is it white noise, Larry?
To me, it is.
All right, to you it is.
Look at the BS Joe Biden does.
I want to stay. We'll get to Joe. We'll get to smoking Joe Biden. We'll get to cadaver Joe Biden. I'm not one of these people. I vote for Larry. I am not one of these people. And the only time that people pay attention to me with politics is when I go at Trump. I go at all of them. All of them.
Well, we need to do it now.
But let's stay on your guy Trump.
This is about Trump.
Okay.
Obama. I'm in Boston 2000.
This is about Trump, Obama.
I will connect the dots.
Okay, connect them good. The golf was good.
The beautiful thing about the podcast is I get time to develop a thought.
100%.
Really? Joe Biden goes to Howard University. This is a few weeks ago. Commencement exercise. And he says the number one threat to the homeland is white supremacy.
Right.
Are you smoking something?
Right. I know, it's pathetic.
The Anti-Defamation League keeps track of how many people are killed every year by extremists. Last year there were 25 people out of the over 20,000 people who were killed.
And every one of them is a heartbreaking, devastating thing.
Yeah, but it's 25.
But I got it.
And if you want to play that game, Michael, most homicide is same race homicide. Most
Right.
white people who are killed by other white people. Most black people who are killed by other black people. However, every year there are roughly 750, a small percentage of the homicides are interracial black-white. 500 white guys are killed by blacks, even though blacks are 13% of the population, and 250 black guys are killed by whites, even though whites are 60% of the population. Now, if Donald Trump went to a university and said, the number one threat to the homeland is black supremacy, you and I would both denounce him as a race-hustling demagogue, and should.
Do you not think he's a race hustler?
Biden does it, nobody says a word.
Do you? Listen, I will say to you right now, when you said to Charlemagne, you brought up the fact that Charlemagne, who I like, he said, when Joe Biden said to him, you're not black, and he said it to him, he didn't just say it to him, he said it to the entire world.
Right.
He said to the entire black public.
You ain't black, yeah.
You ain't black.
Yeah.
He ain't it. You ain't black if you don't vote for Joe. You ain't black if you vote. What did he say? You ain't black for Joe.
If you don't know whether you want to vote for me or vote for Trump, you ain't black.
And Charlemagne said nothing.
Said nothing.
And I know Joe Biden is full of shit. I know Joe Biden is a race hustler. I know Kamala Harris is a race hustler.
Okay.
And I know that Donald Trump is a race hustler.
He's not a race hustler.
How is he not a race? When there's one black dude in the crowd, look at my black supporter. He's so happy. Come on, Larry.
Awkward, clumsy. I wouldn't have said it, but it doesn't make him a hustler.
That's the same though.
Do you know Donald Trump got a smaller percentage of the white vote than Mitt Romney did 4 years earlier?
Donald Trump got a smaller percent of the white vote
than Mitt Romney did 4 years earlier.
So what does that mean?
Well, if he's a race hustler, you'd think that he would get a greater percentage of the white vote, since after all, he's race hustling in order to attract racist white people. He got a smaller percentage of the white vote than Mitt Romney did.
I'm talking about listen, Larry, these are old school. These are old. We know.
Best economy ever for black people. He pardoned Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight champion. Even Barack Obama.
That's nothing.
Even Barack Obama
pardonings
didn't do that.
of a dead person is, come on, man.
He commuted the sentence of Alice Johnson.
Yes, because of Kim Kardashian, because he wanted Kim Kardashian to support her.
He did the First Step Act, which allowed some 5,000 men behind bars to have.
I'm talking about the race hustling. They've both done things that we could say. What things have Joe Biden done to help the black community? You know stats up the wazoo. You're pulling out from 1962. What things has Joe Biden done to help the black community? Whether it's appeasing race hustling or not. Give me one. Give me one.
That Joe Biden has done?
Smoking Joe Biden.
I would say nothing.
Not a thing.
Oh, brother.
So you're saying you
talk about him being a race hustler. He said he went to apartheid Africa when Nelson Mandela was behind bars, and he tried to see him and got arrested. Never happened.
But you don't like the rhetoric from Joe Biden. But you're stating the rhetoric from Joe Biden. But you're like, you care where the ball is with Trump.
I was with Trump in 2016 at a black church in Cleveland. He talked about the black family and about how important it was, and I loved it, and people responded well to him. Remember he said, what do you have to lose? Your schools are bad.
Right, what do you have to lose?
What's wrong with that? What do you have to lose? And he got 8% of the black vote in 2016. He got 12% of it in 2020, a 50% increase. And 20% of black men voted for him in 2020. A substantial increase because a lot of black people saw what was going on. The economy was good. He expanded enterprise zones in the inner city. He did something on the border. The people that are most hurt by illegal aliens economically are black people living in the inner city because if you are a black person living in the inner city with high school or less, you're competing against illegal aliens with very little education. About 1 million more black people would be working if it weren't for illegal alien labor, according to a study done by the Civil Rights Commission. And Donald Trump stopped that. And Joe Biden has opened the floodgates. 8 million people, probably by the time he ends his term, will be here in the country illegally.
Listen, I don't have the answers. Mayor Adams just said it too. He said it.
But he didn't blame Biden, he blamed Trump. How do you blame Trump?
What Adams just said?
Adams blamed Trump for what's happening.
I didn't hear that, but he acknowledged what's going on in New York. And I was by the hotel the other day, and it's shameful.
Only because the governors of Texas and Florida started sending these illegal aliens to blue cities, and all of a sudden, CNN and MSNBC began covering it. And all of a sudden, the mayor of
Go ahead.
All of a sudden, the mayor of New York said something, but he still has not called out Biden for opening up the borders. He still blamed Trump.
Why can't a politician, call out?
Tell the truth.
Why can't they?
As you pointed out.
On both sides.
As you pointed out, people have picked sides. They're in tribes now. I mean,
because you can't call out. I know you think Trump is. I know you're like you said.
Would I say the things that he says? No. Would that be my style? No.
As a president.
But I'm happy with his policies.
Would you?
I care. I'm not voting for a fishing buddy.
See, I'm
voting for policies.
Okay.
I'm not voting. People who you want to sit down and have a beer with. I don't drink beer. I care about your policies. I care about taxes,
I knew you were going to say that, and I have no problem with it. That's what everybody says. They excuse that, and I personally think on both sides we can do better. We can do. We can. The fact that we have, how old is Joe?
I think he's 80.
And it's not about the age. My father's 90. He's moving around.
I did call out Trump for one thing that I really thought he should apologize for.
January 6th, causing a riot.
Negative.
Both sides. Jews will not. There's good people on both sides.
You don't want to start. He didn't say that.
Wait, he didn't say that.
Oh my God.
The bleach.
Let me get to what I call him out on. Then we got to talk about the both sides thing because that really needs to be clarified.
What about the bleach? The bleaching your skin. It was just joking.
He didn't say that either. He didn't say drink bleach.
No, he didn't say drink bleach. He said he goes if you get the light.
Look at what
like a cleaning product.
Okay, so.
I saw what he said.
I'm talking to Trump at the church in Cleveland. We have about a 20-minute one-on-one conversation.
Privately.
And I said, there's one thing you should apologize for. He said, I know what you're going to say. What I said about John McCain. I said, couldn't care less. I said, you said that George W. Bush lied us into the Iraq War. I said, he didn't lie. I've talked to Condoleezza Rice. I talked to Colin Powell. They both said the intel was wrong, but nobody lied. Saddam Hussein was shooting at the planes, British and American planes. He was stealing from the oil for food program. I named all the reasons that we went there. But nobody lied. And he went like this. I said, what you're doing is demeaning the most important decision the Republican has made in decades. You're parroting the Ted Kennedy lie. Week after week after week, we were told lie after lie after lie. It is not true. He was wrong, but nobody lied. And Trump went, but he's never said it again. And I noticed something. Trump doesn't apologize. He doesn't say the same stupid thing twice. So I'm taking credit for that.
Because
now on the both sides thing.
Wait, hold on. On the John McCain thing, that's what inspired me. Because I couldn't tell you one thing about John McCain, but the fact that this guy had the audacity to say what he said about.
He shouldn't have said it.
And he doesn't apologize because if you apologize, you look weak, right? In his eyes.
I think that's how he sees it.
Do you see it that way? I don't think you see it that way.
Depends on what you say.
If I spit on you, I'm talking. I go, Larry, I'm going to apologize as a talker.
Yeah,
I'm going to apologize.
I would not have said what he said about John McCain.
That he prefers his war heroes not to be captured.
And I think he should apologize.
He should apologize.
The fact that he does not apologize means I'm not going to not vote for him. I want to talk about the both sides thing.
Yeah, I saw the full quote, but you could say it.
Okay, the full quote.
Go ahead.
He said, and I'm not talking about the white nationalists and the neo-Nazis because they should be condemned totally. Joe Biden goes on CNN and he says, I started not to run, but then I saw Donald Trump. He's out there and their veins, eyes bulging, and they said there were good people and bad people on both sides. And that's when I decided to get into the race. Jake Tapper on CNN, this 2 years after the fact, said, I went back and looked at the tape. Donald Trump was referring to the issue of whether or not there should be a Confederate monument in the public square, that there are good people on both sides of that debate. Jake Tapper said it. Michael Schmerkanish, who's their weekend host, said it 2 years later. Biden goes on CNN days after Tapper says this and says it again, and nobody said anything. Now, what is that?
I agree with you, and I saw the quote, and when I saw the quote in full, when I saw the full thing, I was like,
that's probably the number one thing that people give you when they say they don't like Donald Trump.
100%. I agree with you.
I want to thank Michael Rapaport, as I thank Charlemagne the God for at least having me on. Rapaport, Charlemagne, if you want to have me back on, you know where to find me. I'm not hard to find. We recently had some monumental news nobody's talking about. For the first time in our history, the interest we pay on the national debt surpassed every individual budget item except Social Security. That's right, the U.S. now spends more on interest than on national defense or even Medicare, and it's only getting worse as big government continues to spend like drunken sailors. That's why savvy investors, central banks, and concerned savers are turning to gold, something not tied to the inflated U.S. dollar. And you can too with the help of Birch Gold. For over 20 years, Birch Gold Group has helped thousands of Americans protect their savings by converting an IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. To learn more, visit LarryForGold.com and claim your free, no-obligation info kit on gold. Birch Gold has earned my trust with their education-first approach, their thousands of happy customers, and their thousands of 5-star reviews. Protect your savings. Visit LarryForGold.com today. That's LarryForGold.com today. Trump supporters informed a shocked CNN that America is not a democracy, that America is a republic.
President Biden touts his re-election campaign as a fight to preserve democracy. But if you ask some Trump supporters, the former president is not a threat to democracy because the United States is not a democracy. CNN's Donnie O'Sullivan spoke to some of those supporters.
What happens if Trump loses?
I don't see him losing.
I don't think he lost the last election, to be honest.
Do you think he's going to win?
Yes. Without a doubt.
No doubt. What if he doesn't this time? What happens to the country?
We're in trouble. We're in big trouble. We're done. Biden talks about democracy, saving democracy. They're the ones that are killing democracy.
Obviously, there's a lot of criticisms of Trump that he is bad for democracy, that he's bad for American democracy.
Okay, we are a republic.
We're a republic.
We are
we're
not a democracy.
Representative republic. We're not a democracy.
One thing we've been hearing at Trump rallies like this over the past few months is that America isn't really a democracy.
America's not a democracy, it's a republic.
It's not a democracy. Okay, democracy is actually not as good as you think it is.
But for centuries, America has celebrated its democracy.
Democracy is worth dying for. Democracy remains the definition of political legitimacy.
But some Republicans and pro-Trump media are pushing the idea that America is not a democracy.
The United States of America is not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic.
The United States of America is not a democracy. You don't want to be in a democracy.
We are not a democracy. We are a republic.
Is America a democracy?
America is a democracy. It was founded as a democracy.
I've heard a lot of conspiracy theories. I hear a lot of things out on the road. But to hear Americans, people who would describe themselves as patriots, say that America is not a democracy, that stopped me in my tracks.
You are hearing people say America is not a democracy because there are people around Trump who want them to be saying that, who've been planting that narrative.
Is America a democracy?
Yes. No, I don't. I think not right now, but we're a republic.
What's the difference?
I feel like democracy. Let me think this through. That it's government control. I don't see freedom in democracy. I see freedom in the republic.
Honestly, the word democracy and the word republic have often been used interchangeably. There isn't a meaningful difference between them.
So much of the warnings and criticism about Trump is that he is a threat to democracy, that he is anti-democratic.
Absolutely. If they can convince people that we don't have a democracy, then it's okay that Trump is attacking democracy because it doesn't really matter.
So why has democracy become a bad word?
Because it's being used in a way to change the flavor of our country, which is a republic.
These words were used in different ways in the 18th century, and it's true the founders didn't want direct democracy, by which they meant people gathering on the town square. They wanted representative democracy. But I think the reason why this conversation about language has risen now is because there is a part of the Republican Party that would like to rule as a minority, and they need an excuse for why that's okay. And so they have begun to say, we're not a democracy, we're a republic. And it's not 100% clear what that means, but I think they mean we want Donald Trump to be able to do whatever he wants.
Some people I've been speaking to at Trump events recently have been saying America is not a democracy, it's a republic.
We've always been in a democracy, first of all. I mean, we used to have freedom of speech, freedom of religion. We used to have that, too. Now they're picking on the Christians and the Jewish people. I mean, how much more can we take?
Are you concerned if Trump loses?
Yeah.
That there will be another January 6th?
No, I think there will be a civil war. That's what I think will happen.
And Omar, look, there is, of course, a legitimate debate, discussion to be had on what form of democracy we have here in the United States. Direct democracy, representative democracy, in fact, constitutional republic, which you heard people mention in that piece. That is a form of democracy. But look, this is not actually a debate about government, about democracy. It's an attack on democracy. People have heard the warnings that Trump is a danger to democracy. And therefore you have people trying to convince others that, well, the United States isn't a democracy in the first place, and therefore Trump can't be a threat.
And if you really think that, you're stupid.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Okay, CNN. Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution. And I'm quoting. The United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a Republican form of government. But to CNN, accurately calling America a republic is a, quote, threat to our democracy. Democracy is like two wolves and a lamb voting on what to eat for lunch. But a republic is a well-armed lamb contesting the vote. End of quote. You know who said that, CNN? Alexander Hamilton, one of the founding fathers, although he was white, so...
And we were all reciting the Pledge of Allegiance one day, and he walked over, this little old teacher, Mr. Laswell was his name. Mr. Laswell, and he says, he says, I've been listening to you boys and girls recite the Pledge of Allegiance all semester, and it seems as though it's becoming monotonous to you. If I may I recite it and try to explain to you the meaning of each word. I, me, an individual, a committee of one, pledge, dedicate all of my worldly goods to give without self-pity. Allegiance, my love and my devotion to the flag, our standard, Old Glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts freedom is everybody's job. United, that means that we have all come together. States, individual communities that have united into 48 great states. 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose. All divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose. And that's love for country. And to the republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people. And it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands. One nation, meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation, and justice, the principle or qualities of dealing fairly with others. For all, which means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as it is mine.
And in case that went a little too fast for you, CNN.
And to the republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people, and it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands.
This CNN pundit reacts to polls about Trump's black support.
So where does the race stand among African-American voters right now?
Yeah, I keep looking for this to change, to go back to a historical norm, and it simply put has not yet. So this is the margin, or Biden and Trump among black voters, compare where we were at this point in 2020, compare where we are now. You know, at this point, look at this. In 2020, Joe Biden was getting 86% of the African-American vote. Look at where it is now. It's 70%. That's a 16-point drop, John. And more than that, it's not just that Joe Biden is losing ground, it's that Donald Trump is gaining ground. You go from 7%, single digits at this point in 2020, to now 21%. And again, John, I keep looking for signs that this is going to go back to normal, and I don't see it yet in the polling. If anything, right now we're careening towards a historic performance for a Republican presidential candidate, the likes of which we have not seen in 6 decades.
And when you dig into this number here, what is the makeup of that number?
This is where we get very interesting. So I decided to dive deeper into the crosstabs, figure out where is it that Joe Biden is truly struggling among black voters. All right, so this is black voters, Biden versus Trump margin. Look at black voters age 50 and older, and you'll see, look, Joe Biden was leading amongst this group at this point by 83 points back in 2020. Now it's 74 points. So yeah, a slight decline in that margin, but nothing out of this world. Look at black voters under the age of 50. Holy cow, folks, holy cow. Look at this. Joe Biden was up by 80 points among this group back at this point in 2020. Look at where that margin has careened down towards. It's now just, get this, 37 points. That lead has dropped by more than half, Mr. Berman. I just never seen anything like this. I'm like speechless, because you always look at history and you go, okay, this is a historic moment. If this polling is anywhere near correct, we are looking at a historic moment right now where black voters under the age of 50, which have historically been such a big part of the Democratic coalition, are leaving it in droves.
That is a huge drop over a 4-year period, at least right now. All right, what's the impact of third-party candidacies here? Robert Kennedy Jr.
Yeah, you know, so, all right, so obviously we have third-party candidates this year with the 2 major party candidates being so disliked. All right, so this is black voters, Biden versus Trump in the battleground states. This was according to a poll last month from the New York Times, Siena College. Again, looks very similar to what we see nationally, right? Joe Biden at 63, a very poor position for a Democratic candidate. Donald Trump at 23%. If we add Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to this, look at where Joe Biden drops to. Less than half the vote among black voters. Less than half the vote among black voters in the battleground states. Donald Trump drops as well to 14%, so not quite nearly as historic. But look at this. RFK with 11%. You basically have a legitimate sort of 3-way race here. Yeah, Joe Biden well ahead, but with less than 50% of the vote. John, I never thought I would see something like this among black voters.
And for those questioning who Robert Kennedy would hurt more, at least in these numbers, in this measurement right here, Biden loses 14, Trump loses 9. So it's clearly Joe Biden.
It's exactly right. It seems to me this is, yes, it's partially a artifact of Donald Trump perhaps being better liked among black voters, but it's also a real artifact of Joe Biden being significantly less liked among black voters than he was 4 years ago.
Looks like a lot of blacks ain't really black. Right, Joe?
And you ain't black. Have you ever heard of the term wake-up call?
No.
It is an incident where a person of color forgets that they are of color and are reminded rather brutally by an unexpected act of racism. Have you ever had any of those?
Brother. Joe Biden insulted you by saying, you ain't really black. We don't know whether or not you want to vote for me or vote for Donald Trump. How dare this guy come in here and insult you, a black man, and tell you you got to think a certain kind of way. I'm amazed that you weren't mad about that. That should have been a wake-up call on your part to have a white guy come in here who also said, by the way, going to put y'all back in chains. And Joe Biden has lied for decades about his civil rights record, claiming that he desegregated movie theaters and restaurants in Wilmington, Delaware, when he didn't do any of that. He lied and said that he tried to visit Nelson Mandela during apartheid South Africa. It seemed to me that should have been a wake-up call for you, but it wasn't.
What CNN is really saying is, after all our hard work telling you that Trump is racist, what's wrong with you people?
This is CNN Tonight. I'm Don Lemon. The President of the United States is racist. A lot of us already knew that. There's other language I'd like to use, but we are on television. But you know what? They're not shocking, not even really surprising, because this is who Donald Trump is. This is what he thinks. They think this is good for them, and the president's comments will actually resonate with his base. Jesus. Admitting that for all their talk about making America great, the president is playing to a base that welcomes his racism and will enjoy it. For years, I and others have been trying to tell you, the American people, that this man was exhibiting bigoted behavior. I asked him about it a number of times, and he denied it, but kept up the racist rhetoric and behavior throughout the campaign and now while he's in the White House. His supporters made excuses, continue to make excuses for him. Some of them people I personally know. Some of them are his friends, as a matter of fact, and I can hear them now telling me, oh, Don, Donald didn't mean that. Donald isn't a racist, or just people who don't know him. I think it was taken out of context. I'm not sure. How many examples do you need of this? But he is a racist. What does it say about you that no matter what, you continue to make excuses for this man, for his vile behavior, this sort of vile behavior? Doesn't that make you just as bad, if not worse, than him? And for all of you who over the last few years have uttered that tired, lazy, uninformed, uneducated, ignorant response of calling me and others who point out racist behavior racists, you know what you can go do? As we say in the South, and you know what this means, bless your heart.
Now, former Speaker Nancy Pelosi has an idea about what to do about a possible Trump re-election.
Europeans here are worried. They see America and they say America is stepping back. You've dealt with Donald Trump. What advice would you give them?
Him? Have an intervention into your mental health, your political viability. He's really grotesque.
Let me ask you a question. How many of you are concerned about the invasion of privacy that is currently going on by the Biden administration? Biden's DOJ is invading individuals' private messages and targeting them based on their political affiliation, and that's why I partnered with Freedom Chat, a private social messaging app that, like me, believes privacy is your fundamental human right. Freedom Chat has variable end-to-end encryption, built-in screenshot protection, no storage of messages on their servers, and no commercial use of user data. I'm such a fan of Freedom Chat, in fact, that I have created my own private channel that you can subscribe to for exclusive content, including never-seen images, videos, and posts. Simply download the app, or if you're on Android, join their waitlist. Search for my channel and subscribe. No one can see the channels that you are subscribed to or the posts that you react to. It's your own perfectly curated private news feed. Speak freely and message privately with Freedom Chat. Download the app today and subscribe to my channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. It is not a good year to be a white male. This Disney executive admits in this undercover video that the company discriminates against white males.
Certainly, there have been times where, there's no way we're hiring a white male person.
Just kind of unspoken.
There are times when it's spoken, but...
How would they say it?
There's no way we're hiring a white male person.
Like straight to you? Or okay.
They'd be very careful how they message that to agents.
According to these videotapes,
Disney blatantly discriminates against whites, white men in particular.
I think I'm sort of like well prepared for it. I'm well positioned for it. But as far as Disney's concerned, I'm a white male, and that's not who they're looking to promote at the moment.
As a white guy, even Michael has his own doubts about the possibility for advancement for himself at Disney. In fact, Michael actually got to experience Disney's discrimination against white males firsthand.
I've been at the company 11 years now, so I have friends in HR and I have friends in those divisions, and they're like, look, nobody else is going to tell you this, Mike, but they're not considering any white males for the job. They're just not. That's not what they want.
They even passed over a qualified half-black person for a promotion because they didn't look black enough.
We wanted to hire somebody in the department a few years ago now who was half black, but didn't appear half black. And there was a creative executive who was like, we're not, that's not what's wrong. They wanted somebody in meetings who would appear a certain way, and he wasn't gonna bring that to the meeting. I mean, it kind of feels like we're, at some point there's going to be a lawsuit. That's kind of how it feels, just because of,
And that is a lawyer talking. So how does Disney explain pushing these discriminatory practices? They use code words and buzzwords.
I'm guessing that there's acceptable code words and buzzwords that are used to explain what they're looking for. They might say something like, look, we're not looking at the usual suspects for this job. So it's not a legally actionable thing, but everybody knows what it means. They, for writers and actors, I hear all the time, looking to hire writers and actors who bring diversity. I'm not looking to bring on any more clients who are white.
And this CEO of IBM is mandating discrimination against whites. In fact, your salary depends upon the degree to which you discriminate against whites.
James O'Keefe here outside of IBM's corporate headquarters in Armonk, New York. An IBM insider has provided us with an internal video showing the CEO of IBM, Arvind Krishna, using coercion to fire people and take away their bonuses unless they discriminate in the hiring process.
Let me go deeper in the red hat. Multiple leaders over the last year plus that were held accountable to the point that they're no longer here at Red Hat because they weren't willing to live up to the standards that we set in this space. This conversation takes place every single day, and a lot of it's behind the scenes.
They terminated executives that didn't discriminate, yet another violation of Title VII. One of the biggest companies in the world, one of the most valuable and recognizable brands on earth. IBM Insider has provided us with an internal video showing the CEO of IBM, Arvind Krishna, using coercion to fire people and take away their bonuses unless they discriminate in the hiring process, which appears to be a violation of Title VII. This comes on the heels of IBM pulling advertising from Elon Musk's X, with IBM saying they have zero tolerance for discrimination. Quote, IBM has zero tolerance for discrimination, and we've immediately suspended all advertising on X while we investigate.
So let me add a couple of things with a Red Hat flavor on it. I think Arvind laid it out pretty well, but let me go deeper in the Red Hat. And as Arvind very much pointed out, and I very much understand, I am accountable. I hold myself accountable. He holds me accountable, as does the board for all of IBM. But we also hold the leadership at Red Hat accountable for that. I mean, I'll be very candid. Without an exception for privacy, I could name multiple leaders over the last year plus that were held accountable to the point that they're no longer here at Red Hat because they weren't willing to live up to the standards that we set in this space. And so, as I said, I'm accountable to Arvind on this as well as to IBM. For example, one of the changes I made, I named a D&I lead person in Margaret reporting directly to me and the CLT. Margaret sits on the CLT as the D&I functions, and this is worked on every single one of our meetings. This conversation takes place every single day, and a lot of it's behind the scenes, but let me assure you this is happening. We're never going to cross the DEI off our list of priorities. This is an ongoing thing.
That was Paul Kernier, CEO of Red Hat, which is a software company owned by IBM, saying that they terminated executives that didn't discriminate, yet another violation of Title VII.
So we take underrepresented and gender. You got to move both forward by a percentage. That leads to a plus on your bonus. By the way, if you lose part of your bonus. Paul's held to the same standards. Paul and I have been working together to say, okay, how do we apply those deeper into the organization?
That was the head of IBM saying he's going to reduce the bonus if you don't hit your racial quotas. Arvind Krishna is using racial considerations in making the work environments diverse and doing so coercively by placing burdens on employees to do so, like the removal of bonus or termination. That's also a violation of Title VII.
I'm very clear about this. I expect at the executive level, so that is not just my directs, but all executives in the company have to move forward by 1% on both underrepresented minorities. So let me say it, Asians in the US are not an underrepresented minority in a tech company.
Americans have had enough of supporting companies that hate our values. Tired of compromise? So am I. It's time to switch to Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They are an example of putting the cause ahead of profits, and that's why I'm proud to partner with them. Patriot Mobile offers dependable nationwide coverage, giving you access to all 3 major networks, which means you get the same coverage you've been accustomed to without funding the left. When you switch over to Patriot Mobile, you're sending a message that you support the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the sanctity of life, and our military vets and our first responder heroes. Their 100% US-based customer service team makes it easy to switch, keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their team will help you find the best plan for your needs. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT. That's patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT. Get free activation when you use the offer code Larry. Join me and make that switch today. patriotmobile.com/Larry, patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT. Hollywood Arby's closes after 55 years over California's $20 minimum wage. The general manager said, and I'm quoting, "With inflation, food costs have gone way up, and the $20 an hour minimum wage has been the nail in the coffin," end of quote. Kevin O'Leary of Shark Tank.
I'm here in California shooting season 16 of Shark Tank. The casual dining sector in this state has been decimated by policy mistake on minimum wage. Yeah. They're shutting down left and right. I mean, Gavin Newsom made a huge mistake. I think he knows that now. He's turning this state into a sort of a version of Venezuela. And it's just killing business, not only in restaurants, but in everything. There's all kinds of capital leaving here for more competitive states, and that's a good thing. Competition of states in America. You see what's going on in Tennessee, Florida, Texas. They're dragging all these companies that can't make money anymore in Gavin Newsom's. I can't be, listen, I've met him. He's a nice guy, but I can't be more critical for his policies. He's a bad manager. He's decimated this place. I've been coming here for 15 years. This is a shell of what it used to be.
New York Times columnist, a liberal, Nicholas Kristof asks, "What have we liberals done to the West Coast?" You mean like this? The Colonist writes, quote, "Republicans are irrelevant in much of the far West, so they can't hold Democrats' feet to the fire, leading Democrats in turn to wander unchecked further to the left," end of quote. Speaking of further to the left, don't get me started on Gavin Newsom.
Look, almost all the governors get along. I mean, in my 8 years, I can honestly tell you there's really only been two, maybe a third, but two real governors that really nobody liked. Nobody cared for at all. I don't mind.
Would you say who they are?
Do you really want me to? Yeah, Andrew Cuomo, complete jackass. No one liked him. And I gotta be honest. No one cares for Gavin. Gavin's just a prick. Excuse me. He just is. It's really disappointing. I got along with him. All of us got along for a while. But even the Democrats, they won't tell you out loud. But behind closed doors, you're like, oh, God, look who's coming.
Democrats haven't won the white vote since 1964. They absolutely, positively need to import more Democrat voters. Mission accomplished. This State Department official admits they want to change the demographics of the United States. He is admitting it.
There's got to be some things that you're like, man, I wish I could tell the world about this.
Oh, there's a lot of things, but mostly with immigration. I wish people knew that we're letting in criminals daily.
The big issue for the Hill, for our region, is migration. So we poured a lot of money into Central America.
Like how much?
$4 billion over 4 years. But now migrants are coming from us there.
Right.
Like Venezuela.
Somos de nacionalidad venezolana. Tenemos vuelo para Nueva York.
Entonces, ¿le compraste un vuelo con Spirit?
Sí.
40.
Sí, entramos con la cita de CBP One por el puente fronterizo.
So what is the end goal? Why are they allowing it?
Truly, they want to change the demographics of the United States.
So our aid goes to female prisons in Mexico.
Some of them, yeah. Yeah, to like help train them up.
I'm working with gender issues in Pakistan, so we're trying to recruit, retain, and advance more women in law enforcement. The question becomes, should we be spending U.S. taxpayers' money in our country on this issue? Women that they don't seem to care about.
Secretary Blinken, how close are you to him?
5 degrees separation. This is such a niche industry that flies under the radar that the average American does not know. Most people don't know what we do.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much to you, Ranking Member Risch, all the members of the committee, and thank you for the opportunity to testify today.
He has briefings coming up in 2 weeks.
He has briefings?
Yeah, on the Hill.
About?
The FY 2025 budget request. And that's like with all the congressional people. The big issue for the Hill, for our region, is migration. So, how to stop migration. What are we doing to stop migration?
He's not accountable for that, is he?
Yeah, we do stuff for it.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
It's called the root causes strategy.
Ooh,
it's giving money to support and help people at where the origins of the migrants are, so they feel like they can stay there instead of migrating out. So it's Central America, basically.
It's what?
It's basically Central America, like support and development.
Oh.
So we poured a lot of money into Central America.
Like how much?
$4 billion over 4 years.
Oh. It's like a lot of money for those places.
It's a lot of money.
Is it doing anything?
I think for them, yes, but now migrants are coming from us there.
Right.
Like Venezuela, so we're like, oh, this didn't solve that problem.
Oh, no. So what does he say to that? That looks bad for the administration, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it looks bad for any administration. Because no one solves migration. It's like the end-all be-all, like kill pill for politics.
Right. And I feel like if anything, the other side's going to win because of it.
I know. My dad used to complain about that. I'm like, oh, and like in my mind, I'm like, oh, that's not that much. And then I see the chart, I'm like, oh, that's a lot. Like compared to like 20 years ago. I was like, oh, wait, they're on to something.
And I don't know what to say to that.
I really don't. I literally don't know.
Like, what would the administration say to that?
I don't know. And like I sit there too, and I talk with my coworker who like manages the migration for us, foreign assistance. And we always talk every time. We're like, I don't know what we do. Like, there's no clear answer.
Do they do things within the foreign affairs departments that will have like this money going to these women? I mean, there's got to be some things that you're like, man, I wish I could tell the world about this.
Oh, there's a lot of things, but mostly with immigration, because that's the one that where the left is really controlling immigration. I wish people knew that we're letting in criminals daily. Like when I was in,
you have confirmation of that. You have confirmation.
Oh yeah. So all the good, honest, hardworking Mexicans stay in Mexico, and all the pieces of garbage come to the United States. And those are the ones that we let. We are literally, and the Mexican government has no reason to stop it because their garbage goes to another country and then sends money back to them. Like imagine if the worst of the worst, and all the criminals in the United States were all going to Canada and sending back billions of dollars a year. Why would you stop that? I wouldn't even change the numbers of, like, if we let in 100,000 Mexicans a year, I'm like, let in 100,000 Mexicans a year, just change the quality of the applicant. Make the, say 100,000 Mexicans, but you can't have been in the U.S. illegally, and you can't have a criminal record.
So what is the end goal? Why are they allowing it?
Truly, they want to change the demographics of the United States. They really do. Because, I mean, no, honestly, the people from Nebraska, like my family's like Americans that have, my family's been in the United States for 400 years. Traditional standard Americans are not leftists. Latin Americans all leftists. And it's just, it literally is. It's just to try to change the demographics.
It's not like it's a secret.
We, in the last election, had the largest turnout of Latino voters in our history. And everything tells us these voters fully intend to become engaged into the elections in the future. They have tasted what it is like to participate and win, and they are not going to go away. When they voted in November, they voted overwhelmingly for progressive candidates. If we are to expand this electorate to win, the progressive community needs to solidly be on the side of immigrants. That will solidify and expand the progressive coalition for the future. We reformed the immigration laws. It puts 12 million people on the path to citizenship and eventually voters. Can you imagine if we have even the same ratio, 2 out of 3, if we have 8 million new voters that care about our issues and will be voting, we will create a governing coalition for the long term.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Any questions?
Any questions?
Unattended luggage.
Behind me is the San Diego border wall, what was once regarded as the best example of secure bordering in the United States. Now, this border wall section, it's now facing the same type of border crisis right here as the rest of the country.
We have open gaps here in San Diego, but they're just coming in.
According to statistics from Customs and Border Protection, around 7.2 million illegal immigrants entered the United States under President Joe Biden alone. What is actually causing this crisis?
Finally, well, that didn't work out.
Ori, you can't hide. We all see your greedy side.
Former employees of OCF Coffee House rallied outside of the now closed Fairmount Cafe on Tuesday.
We've been paid really bad wages, and this was our attempt to get better wages and make the place that we love better.
The coffee shops are owned by OCF Realty. The real estate brokerage announced the closures to employees in an email which included 2 other locations in South Philly. Workers like Alex Simpson say they were shocked.
I am pretty crushed, especially when it's such a blatant response to our union process. This comes a week after we publicly announced our union.
Tough day at the office.
And Joan Shingang, I'm going to pronounce her, Shanga Kawawa.
Hey, sideways. Get me, Mumbles.
After I signed the PACT Act into law, I handed the pen that I signed it with as an addition of the person most responsible for the legislation.
I cannot wait for that debate. Talk about must-see TV. Hope you enjoyed We've Got a Country to Save, brought to you by my friends at InvestYrefy.com. Invest in America like I do. And by Freedom Chat. Freedom Chat has true end-to-end encryption, no storage of messages on the server, and no commercial use of user data. Speak freely and message privately. Download the app today and subscribe to my Freedom Chat channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. We also want to thank Epoch Times, Old Glory Bank, Patriot Mobile, and Birch Gold. Make sure to follow or subscribe to my channel on whatever platform on which you are watching this right now, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or Rumble. And remember, we've got a country to save.